Welcome to Net Re-Met. We are here. We are now. We are abundant. For those of you tuning in this evening or tuning in at a later date, NET is a national community of artists and organizations dedicated to collaborative creation. The Network of Ensemble Theaters, NET, works to propel ensemble theater practice to the forefront of culture and society. Welcome. My name is Severin Blake. My pronouns are they, all, we. I am a Black, mixed race, gender full creature with light brown skin and curly, dark brown hair that matches my eyes. Behind me is a shaded window and a colorful altar to my ancestors. This evening, I am playing the role of facilitator for this event. I am also a member of the Net Bridge Ensemble for the NETneXt initiative. We will be talking a bit more about that exciting work later in this program. And at this time, we would like to share the link to Native Land Digital as a resource for beginning to learn about the land and the people that we are with. Now, let's ground a little deeper. You may have an object with you that represents the earth at hand. If you do not, your body can be that object for you at this time. So focus on that object and also focus on your breath. Let's take a breath collectively in, breathing in gratitude and out, extending our love back to the earth. At this time, we'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land we both inhabit as sacred land and stolen land. The land is alive as we are alive. This land that nourishes, grounds, accepts, and supports all life. We express gratitude to the original peoples that are, have been, and continue to be in relationship with the land. We here, myself, in Lenapehoking, colonially known as Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, we recognize the involuntary displacement of the Nanticoke and Lenni Lenape by English colonists and the ongoing attempt of genocide and erasure of original peoples and their cultural knowledge globally by the government of the United States and its affiliates. We commit to increasing our awareness of the legacies of this displacement while actively working to advocate in the struggle for sovereignty and to uplift and celebrate the peoples, tribes, communities, and organizations thriving today. We commit to nurture our relationship with the land. We belong to the land. In the land, may we find belonging. Let us take another breath, breathing in gratitude and out love. Now that we are grounded in gratitude, I would like to extend that gratitude a step further. I want to say thank you to NET staff members and co-facilitators for this evening, Alicia Tonzik and Nicole Shiro, who make so much of the work of NET happen every day in so many ways. I also want to send a shout out to Dan Proxarnickel, Bridge Ensemble member, celebratory human and tech wizard on the ones and zeros. Speaking of tech, the live transcripts can be enabled for this session. If you wish to see them or wish to not see them, please refer to the closed captioning CC tab on the lower bar of your Zoom screen. And if you have any further tech questions, please put them in the chat and we will address them as soon as we can. This session, including the chat, is being recorded for future viewing. Woo! Okay, we are located. Now let's do an in chat check-in. So today's check-in, please type in the chat a short word, a short phrase, or a word that answers the following prompt. How are you feeling right now, here, today? We'll take a minute to type that out and witness. Okay. Abundant, sleepy, disturbed, grateful, pretty happy to be with friends, old and new, comfy, cozy, motivated, happy to be with friends, weary, excited, interested, feeling a little tight, a little extra tired, happy to be here. Monday vibes, y'all. Listen, full already, poopy. The camera is off, and that's okay. Listen, you got to do exactly what you got to do. Take care of them babies. Pulsating, overwhelmed but at ease. This is a full room. Um, thank you. Thank you for sharing where you're at. Thank you for witnessing one another where we are in these feelings and acknowledging that multiple things can exist at once. Um, yeah, I think it's time to take it to the next level. I want to ask another set of questions, but this time around, we're going to have folks go into breakout rooms um, where it'll be groups of three, and each person will have 5 minutes to one, introduce themselves, and two, answer the following prompt. What is something that you are curious about? Now, this question is supposed to be broad. You can feel free to answer as an individual and as an artist, as an ensemble member, and maybe it's something that you're curious about in the world. Maybe it's about the field of ensemble theater or organizational work in general. Or maybe it's curiosity in your practice. Maybe it's curiosity about what that poopy diaper is going to do next, what that baby's going to do tomorrow when they wake up and discover all the things they've learned all over again with joy. So that's the prompt. And in order to answer it, we also, again, want to be able to share and reflect back. So we'll be popping a link in the chat that is a link to a slide deck. So the breakout room that you're assigned to, the group number or the room number that you're assigned to corresponds with the slide that you will also be filling out. You'll want to assign one note taker. And also, we'll let you know when 5 minutes per person is up. That being said, you can feel free to break the rules. If things devolve into just a loving conversation, that's also fully accepted and celebrated. Um, we just ask that you have like summary notes. It doesn't need to be detailed about what you discuss in the room. Does anybody have any questions? No questions? Great. Let me pop that link in the chat. Hmm.
Just also clarity check. I got a
Yeah,
direct message from somebody with the net logo. Could you just remind me of who that is? Thank you, Alicia. Appreciate it.
here is the next. Here's the link to the slides, starting with slide number 2. All right. If we are assigned, great. Then I think we can send folks on their way, and we'll see you in 15. I'll come in and check to make sure things are going all right. Whoa. Hello. And just like that, we're back. You were probably mid-sentence. I hope
Oh my
so.
God.
Also, cheers. It's a mixer. This is exciting. Cheers to an abundance of possibilities. Cheers to the continuation of art and learning. Let's see. I want to open up these next few minutes. I want to open the space to kind of folks can, I think, come off mute and share their reflections, anything that's really like resonating from them in the room, one. And two, this is also a moment for folks to share any upcoming events that they have going on. I think we're going to do this for 5 minutes and then we'll move forward. We'll have more time for this in the half hour after the hour. But I also want to share this link, which is for social media. Net wants to uplift events that are upcoming in the field through our social media, specifically Facebook and Instagram. So if you have information and you want to put that out there in the world, feel free to pop those here in the chat. And now I'm going to open up the floor, resonating. What's upcoming? Lori, did you want to share?
No, I'm just typing in that my internet's going in and out. So
That's great. We can also pull up the slide deck if we want to like kind of see what folks were thinking about. Is that something that folks are interested in? Great, I'm seeing a thumbs up. Let's get to it. Hmm. Here we go.
Do we just unmute and then just talk? What?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to bring up the slide deck, but you unmute and talk, and we can both look and listen and take at the same
Oh,
time.
so I'm on a phone, so I can't. There's only a limitation, but
Yes.
just to say.
Oh, you muted yourself?
Wow. Right? It's just technology. You work with it, you listen with it. I think within I don't know. I'm not seeing the slide deck, but I know that Denise and I and breakout. What is something you're? Oh yeah. Some of the things that came out for us within our group was healing. How theater is very healing. The curiosity of that, and then how it's also impacting, or at least having that conversation with what's going on with our world. Gun violence came up because of the incident in Nashville for us, and so it's just having that conversation about healing and how can we, as theater artists, put into the practice of healing within our communities for ourselves. And one of the great things that Denise had mentioned also was this how sometimes there's no words. So how do we then engage with other people without words? Like, and what is that? Because you're so done with it, so those were some things. Go ahead and add, Denise, to what we had shared, if there's anything.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Tara just said healing. That was like the first thing she said, and just about how do we share that? I love that. That was something that was important for Tara about, and as I was saying, it comes through theater. It comes through, and I was inspired to talk about Sean Leonardo's work, which he did at the Guggenheim, which was with military, police officers, people who have experienced gun violence in the streets and others. And they dressed all in white and nobody knew who anybody was. And then in the floor of the Guggenheim, they did like kind of like fights or interactions just using their physical bodies. So sometimes it wasn't a fight, it was like a moment or a prayer or anything. And it became this thing about like, yeah, when you run out of words, what do you do? How do you respond? And how do we see ourselves as and others as human first, so that the way we solve problems isn't just take out a gun and shoot somebody. So yeah, it's definitely weighing on my mind right now, and because I have kids too, but also just like in general, how do we see each other as whole people first before we just kind of start labeling each other and you know, this kind of thing becomes a kind of a shooting without seeing a person fully. And Tara, did you want to add anything else to that?
Oh, no, I think you did a great job giving an overview, a summary.
Awesome. Is there anyone from group 3 who would like to share?
I could a little bit. We ended up talking a lot about family story. I was, all of us, I think all 3 of us in our little group, and it was a weird group because Laurie and I have known each other since before creation. And but we were talking a lot about how our artistic work, whether it's going to be shown or not, all 3 of us are investigating family story. I was at a conference of environmental historians in Boston this last week. And everybody there, although they're mostly working on climate issue here, there, and everywhere, and lots of other things, were interested. There was a dinner where a group of people got together and everybody sheepishly said, well, actually what I'm working on is my family story. Me too, I'm working on my family story. How about that? I have this, and it was pretty remarkable, and it made me think that our time at the edge of apocalypse over the last few years have made us think in those ways. So that was there, and I think that was in our little space. Certainly the violence of today was present in the space. In terms of the question of working on, I'm also thinking about how we're more interconnected, but we need to be in person with each other. I got a call today. I work a lot in the autism community, and I got a call today to do a conference call in a few weeks with a group of pediatricians interested in what it's like to raise an autistic child, which has been part of my life. The pediatricians are in Bhutan. You know, it is a whole new world that this time has, while it isolated us, each of us, it also connected all of us in very interesting ways. So that's me. That's my curiosity and a deep desire to see you all in person.
Thank you. Anyone else from group 3?
Did I do okay, Nicole?
You did great, Jerry,
Mhm.
as always.
Group 2. Would anyone like to speak? I know I was there, but I've been talking a lot.
Well, Carlos already stepped out, and it was really great because they were having rehearsal kind of all around Carlos. It was very cool. There were people doing aerial things in the background and all kinds of physical theater going on. So that was super cool. We talked a lot about the commonality seemed to be about our learning and relearning as we grow as artists and as humans, as we're dealing with all kinds of aspects of culture and history. Questions like, what is a global education? How can we be more globally aware? How much of the world do we take on? Thinking about possibilities for the future and how to find the best path forward. And then living inside of capitalism, trying to find this abundance of possibilities and all the ways that we want our work to be accessible to everybody and all the ways that we are challenged in that, and trying to find the balance between the making art and the learning and the relearning and the remembering.
Awesome. Thank you, Bonnie. Group 1.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit about our group. We talked a lot about we talked a lot about transition, especially with you know, Amy being an ensemble member at Bloomsburg Theater Ensemble and myself being a fellow with the company, and the company being a founder of Net and Bob being a co-founder of Net as well. We talked a lot about how you know, we're sort of in this like post-COVID period of transition, and for a lot of institutions and a lot of people. And we talked about, you know, what that, being curious about what that transitionary phase looks like, and what folks in my age bracket are looking for in terms of community, and how folks generally think about community in this post-COVID world. And what it something Bob said was thinking that like people post-COVID have a different understanding of what it means to be together. And so yeah, that was the core part of our conversation. And we also got to see Amy's baby, so that was nice.
No poop featured.
No poop featured. But me, Bob, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Bob.
No, that's good. Amy, you're on.
Okay. We talked a lot about the way that like my curiosities have been ignited by my infant son, and there's an interesting parallel sort of happening as I am very curious about what the next phase of BTE is going to be like, as the last of our founding and next to founding members are retiring, and we're in a real shift into the future. And so I find my entire life, both personally and professionally, very engulfed in transition. And I'm trying to take a cue off of my son and lean into all of the wonderful curiosities of that, and find the amazement in even the small things.
Awesome. Bob, did you want to share? I'm going to stop the screen share.
No, that's good. Well said.
Oh, great. Healing, family stories, pathways, learning, community, transitioning. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot there. It's fertile ground. At a time like this, you might be wondering, Net, what are you curious about? And I think that I can maybe personally say that we're curious about possibilities. And to get more in depth about that, I will pass the mic over to Alicia Tonzik to guide us through the net share portion of this mixer. Take it away.
Thank you, Severin. Hello, everybody. I know all of you in this room, but if anyone I don't know is listening via recording, hello, I'm Alicia Tonzik. I'm the executive director of Net. And you know, I just love these moments when we get to connect with each other. Yes, in person, preferably, but even here in little squares. I especially always have loved the intergenerational connection that happens in these rooms and at Net. So thank you for that. And thank you for being here. So some brief Net updates. We're going to pass things around and have a couple of folks share from what's up and being thought about from 3 different groups. Net's Bridge Ensemble, that is part of our NETneXt initiative, and then about our Create and Activate BIPOC cohort, and then lastly from the Net board. And these are just super short teasers. So if you end up with specific questions or you want to know more about something, if you're able to stick around for a little bit, and we'll do a little Q&A and also just more informal chat after we close the official session today, please do so. Or you also are always, of course, very welcome to follow up with any of us or reach out to me directly. So please do that if you have things you want to know. So NETneXt, you've probably heard us buzzing a little bit about, is this 18-month process that is underway, that is intended as organizational re-envisioning. Really, like it sounds like many of you all are doing in some of your own work and companies as well. You know, really looking at how Net might evolve and shift to meet the changing needs as our field changes and our world changes. And we're really going into it kind of thinking about it really as a collaborative devising process for a community-based project, kind of with that mindset and lens of something that we're trying to make together with the membership and the larger ensemble arts field to co-create the future of what's next for us all. So the Bridge Ensemble is a group that we pulled together from the Net membership to help design and lead us through that process. And Denise Urahara from the Bridge Ensemble will tell you a little more about that. Denise, you want to talk to folks?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Denise Uehara, and my relationship with Net goes way back. I think I first met some of the folks at Net at an NPN gathering, and there was just like this madhouse rush. You know, there's just conferences like crazy in there. And I remember Alicia turned around and explained themselves. And there's something really beautiful, like, you know, we support all the work that people are doing here, and we try to be like that ourselves. You know, it was something, and I'm sorry, I'm just generally paraphrasing, but the feeling I got, and it still stays with me today, is that they're really about collaboration. And what I love now is that Net at this moment is taking this opportunity to take what they've been doing and supporting through collaboration and then layer it onto what they do and look through that lens of like, is it time to reevaluate? Is it time to reimagine ourselves? Is it time to rethink everything from, you know, the board down or expand outward? So I came on board. And I've done different things with that. I've sat on panels. I've been a grant recipient for an ensemble. We created a piece called Shooting Columbus, which was very much a reimagining of like if Indigenous scientists built a time machine and went back to 1492 and assassinated Columbus, how would life today be different? So I've been, you know, and that was a fantastic experience, and Net really was the seed money for one of our opportunities, and that was a huge endeavor for all of us and a big change for me, and it really pushed me out of my comfort zone to do that project. So I'm going to share with you real quickly. I think I need to become a co-host to do it or something, Sarah. And I'm going to share my screen. So, you know, hopefully I hit everything, but you never know. Don't look too quickly. Okay, so this is our, can you all see that? This is we did some exercises, warm-ups. So this is one of the warm-ups, which was to take one of the Net core values and mirror draw. So drawing with both hands at the same time. And the Net core values, I think, really ground us. It's collaboration, equity and inclusion, transparency, excellence, respect, active engagement, knowledge building. And what I love about this, and this is just, you know, the beginning, is that it really jumps right into this other space of possibility and imagination. And so the great thing about working, and I'm so honored to work with this this cohort, this ensemble, as we're calling ourselves, of NetBridge, is that we also create things like this, which is, you know, asking those harder questions about who we are, who are stakeholders, who's not in the room. I can't take credit for these fantastic things because they did it before I was part of it, but I thought, wow, how interesting that we went from something that was a mirror drawing, and then we would jump into things like this. And it kind of shows, like, I would just say a kind of ability to be creative, but also to think about, like, okay, what, after we looked at big pictures, what can we actually do? What is possible? What steps can we take? How can we do this without harming others? But also expand the way that we look at ourselves as net. So, and we are talking, for example, about giving more voice to Indigenous peoples, to people that are working in folk arts, or as we might want to call that, people work, community-based work, and centering that more. And so those have been really interesting discussions about what works, what's practical. So somebody, Miriam, who's in the field of theater, who is Native, was saying this is what's working in different theater companies and how they're actually creating these Indigenous boards, not boards, but instead of being on a board, being in like a consulting group or a group that can talk among themselves with maybe an observer in the room and then report back to a larger theater, because maybe they don't want to sit on every board, you know, to do that, but maybe finding ways to really honor and hear those voices. So it's a lot of it is creativity, structure, and also deep listening, I'd say. So I think I've spoken enough. I'm gonna pass this back to, who should I pass it back to? Saravan, maybe? Thank you.
I pass to Alicia.
Thanks. Thank you, Denise. So little windows into process. So that bridge ensemble and net staff, Nicole and I have been working over the last handful of months, the fall and winter, in this, you know, more internal kind of initial design phase. And so we are now in the moment here of starting to turn more outwardly. So by early summer, we're expecting to move into the public engagement phase of NET, which hopefully is where you all come in a much more deeply activated way, where we're really intending to take things out to the membership and beyond in this process for what is probably will be about 6 to 9 months of research and development and community engagement work, at the end of which we'll pull all the things we've heard and seen and gathered back together and see what we've got and where it leads us in terms of what happens with NETneXt. So next I want to invite Dan to talk to us a little bit. Dan is a member of the current Bridge Ensemble, but also was and is a project lead on our Create and Activate work that started last year. So Dan can tell you a little bit about that.
Hey everybody, Dan Prixarnicle here, he, him, his, calling in from Bulbancha, the place of many tongues, some of the Atakapa Ishak, Homa, and many others, also known as New Orleans. And I'm also the creative producer for Mondo Bizarro, and I had the honor of being asked to help facilitate an initiative called Create and Activate in early 2022, which was designed initially by Patricia Garza, where 15 BIPOC ensemble-based practitioners from across NET's membership were able to meet from January to June, once a month over this wonderful platform, Zoom. And really kind of were like given the keys to the car just to design the initiative itself, which was like pretty wild. There was a moment where we had to kind of go like, none of us are staff members here. So it was a really beautiful thing. And we had each of our sessions with a guiding question, like, what does it mean to interrogate being an ensemble member of color? What does it mean to be a BIPOC artist in a predominantly white ensemble? What does it mean to codify our practice? And in addition to that, we were able to really set our programming and co-create the experience for ourselves. And it was a pretty magical experience just to kind of just create community in general. And the things that kind of came out of it were we were able to not only answer these questions and interrogate those, but also share each other's practices, as simple as how we check in with each other, how we check in with the ensemble. We're able to share each other's work. And once we kind of got momentum, able to kind of go past these little 2-hour windows once a month to let folks take lead on anything they wanted to. So one of the things that's coming out of that, and one of the questions that we asked ourselves was, what do we have to offer to Net? And one of the things we piloted during that initial phase was Elizabeth Colon Nelson was really feeling passionately about trying to create space for BIPOC writers, and launched a writer's room on off weeks where we were able just to kind of jump in and have an hour of like freedom and creativity to create some work. And we're actually in the midst of helping facilitate and figure out how she can launch that for Net's wider membership coming up as soon as April. We also talked about just the knowledge that was within the cohort and are like noodling through how to do this, but we're going to hopefully launch a podcast series where we're going to have long form conversations with each of the members to talk about process, legacy, history, and just be able to spotlight each other with that work and share that with the field, because there was so much rich knowledge happening within those sessions. And it was a really cool thing that Net was able to support, because we really were able to make our own way, to guide our own path, and more than anything else, have some funding with no expectations for output. There was never a moment where this was due or this thing needed to be made, which gave us a lot of freedom and gave us a sense of how we could pilot some of these smaller cohort groups and figure out what something like that could do as just one potential of the many different ways that Net can reform itself, of what happens if we kind of just empower a bunch of smaller groups to create work, to ask questions, and to be able to share with the fields. Passing it back to Alicia.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, the work and just community that has happened in that group has been so exciting. And as Dan referenced, really was intended and bore out that sort of experiment, intended as a pilot to sort of see with these kind of structures, what, as we have an interest in trying to move to a place where there is more direction that comes through more active engagement from the membership, what might it look like to have structures where members working together in ensemble, in group, in collaborative ways can get together around areas of interest, identity, inquiry, things that you're curious about exploring, and feed into the system things that help direct what happens with Net and what becomes our focus, and things we want to think about and build programming around. So excited to do more of that as we move through NETneXt. And so I think to close out this section of things, I am going to invite Jerry Stropnicki in his current role as our board treasurer, but also as one of the founders of Net, and like a few others of you in this room, Bob and
Hi, Bob.
others are a big part of the reason why we all have gotten to be here in the first place. Jerry, what wisdom do you have to close out?
Oh my, I'm just Jerry Stropnicki here in Danville, Pennsylvania, near Bloomsburg, where I live, along the Susquehanna, which is the land of the Susquehannocks and the Lenape, and I am an uninvited settler on this gorgeous territory as my forsythia opened today. All right, so if everybody can think back to 2019, and we were doing really exciting things in Phoenix and Tucson, and it was great and it was hard. And we were thinking about going to Puerto Rico next and all this great stuff happening. And then this other shit happened, right? And so through all that, the things you've just been hearing about are actually part of what we've been doing. What happened is, when you're standing on the edge of the abyss, and none of us knew in those early times what was coming next, what that might be. Would we make it? Would our families make it? How many things were going to break down? And I know this sounds but it was pretty damn dire. I felt really dire because I was really sick as the pandemic hit. I had my unidentified viral bronchial infection and 104 fever, going, oh my God, anyway, all that. So our task, though, over time, with Patricia's help and Alicia's leadership, was to try to keep this thing breathing, try to keep it somehow on life support, but also to look forward. And so the two initiatives you just heard about, or everybody's just been talking about, are part of what we've been doing, saying, yeah, we don't know what to do, so why don't we ask them? Just give them the car without the, give them the keys, what the hell? But part of this was also, this is NET, every 3 years, NET's a very big organization with a lot of money because people trust it at the Duke and the Mellon. And so it also has to run like a normal organization. And it has a budget, and it has grants to write and promises to keep and audits to do and an auditor to keep happy, all that stuff. But through that time, we did some pretty amazing things early on. Because people couldn't get together to collaborate, we took all that money from that program and just said, hey, y'all need to pay your internet bill, and managed to give it all out in tiny grants to everybody we could, with the support of the funders. I mean, that's Alicia, folks. That's that hero over there. Also, doing away with dues has a budgetary impact, but the membership organization without any membership fee. We shrunk, we grew, we met, we did some great dialogues between mentors and folks. So we had to just keep it going. And I just want to applaud at this point. At times we got a bunch of people together. Sometimes most of the time it was very few. Sometimes for a time it was weekly. And so to thank Alicia and Claudia Alec and Leslie Tamarabucci and Carrie Cole and often Shoshi and often Carlos and Jane Young, who took over when I kept getting sick or my wife was in her last months. It was a huge team effort, but kind of just like keeping the thing together. And all of us, I think I can say, are excited that the visioning is happening and that something new is going to grow out of the seed we managed to save. That's my report. How'd I do, Alicia? Did I get the big parts?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Severin, I'm going to hand back to you to close us out. I know we're a little post time. If you want to segue us into out of formal and into any informal for anyone who wants to stick around.
Thank you. Received. Yes. Wow. I think let's take in a deep breath. And I know that I'm feeling like really full. I'm feeling full of information and excitement. We are definitely at and beyond the hour that we said that we were going to gather. So I want to respect folks' need. Folks can feel free to go as they need to. But if you do have any like lingering thoughts or questions, we're going to take a 5-minute break and we're going to play some of Dante Green's incredible tunes. Dante is a multi-hyphenate incredible creature. And so we're going to take 5, grab another round of beverages. If you are leaving, we would love it if you could put something for you that is like resonating in this moment in the chat, so that we can share in that. And we'll just take a deep, go ahead. Are you saying something, Dan? Newness. Yes. I cannot hear the sound. Oh, we'll see you soon. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . .
wouldn't wish for anything at all, 'cause in a time of such desire, it can't all be so easily construed. I wouldn't wish for some